The action-packed excitement of the GNCC UTV series is coming your way on Racer TV. And today, mud will be a bigger factor than any other race this year. How will the side-by-side machines handle it? Find out next on Racer TV. Welcome to Racer TV's coverage of the Can-Am Grand National Cross Country Series. Today we're in the Buckeye State of Ohio for the ITP Tires Powerline Park GNCC, and the excitement of the UTV side-by-side series is about to get underway. Here are our racing rules. We'll race for 1 hour as always. Course a little over 4 miles in length. We'll probably do 6 or perhaps 7 laps in that amount of time. 2 different classes, XC1 modified, essentially run what you brung, the latest and greatest technology, engine and suspension-wise. XC2 limited, a little bit more of a showroom stock type of class. Of course, everyone required to have the same level of safety equipment. And this has been the team to beat since this UTV series has begun, a merger of sorts between William Yoakley's Yoakley Racing Polaris outfit backed by the National Guard and Scott Kiger's Coastal Drilling Racing team. They have merged together, and they've won the majority of the races the last couple of years, and Yoakley has the #1 plate as last year's UTV overall champion. And there's Kiger in the 808, who's always there as the tail gunner. Yoakley had a problem with the previous race. Kiger was there with a good result, and another driver by the name of Mouse Pratt grabbed the overall win, also a part of that team. Competition has come from Kyle Chaney and the MotoWorks Can-Am crew in the Can-Am Commander. Don't forget about the Hendershot boys in the #2. And you never know when there's an upset waiting around the corner. We've had a couple of upstart privateer teams grab victories so far this year. And today, a lot of mud on this course could make it a race of attrition and maybe open up the door for another upset special. Just about ready to go racing. Here we go. I'm Jason Wygant giving you the call, and that is Yoakley down to the inside, the #1, trying to grab the whole shot. And look out, we've already got a machine on its side and on its lid. That was the Big Country Power Sports machine of John Yoakley. That's actually William Yoakley's nephew. And William got into him, and he ended up upside down. There'll probably be a little discussion around the family campfire after that, and, well, maybe they'll have a chance to discuss it during the race because John is back underway. The GNCC crew has him back on all 4 wheels. Meanwhile, William Yoakley leading the way, and Kyle Chaney right behind him. They have been finding more and more speed in that Can-Am Commander. At our last race, he led the majority of the laps. Today, though, Yoakley's on his game, and just as quickly as I say that, he runs directly into a tree, and now everyone's scrambling. Nice job moving from 4th to 3rd. That is the Barron Eastgate Racing team, now back to row #2. These boys will have adjusted time on their side to try to run for the overall. The Hendershot crew, Larry and Larry, grabbing the whole shot there. Now, for safety's sake, we only put 4 to 5 vehicles on each starting row together. If you got 20 or 30 of them down into one first turn, you're probably going to have some problems. So instead, we separate them and then run them with a time adjustment to determine the overall. Here is John Yoakley, remember, who was upside down in turn 1. He's kind of in no man's land. He's not with that front row anymore due to the flip, but he is in front of these boys, and Hendershot runs into the same tree that slowed Yoakley. Well, I guess if you block the whole trail, they're not going to get by you, whether you're going or stopping. The next row, or actually this is from row 2, Zukowski Motorsports just now getting going, so they've got a long way to go. And almost made it worse by riding the bicycle there through that left-hander. And they keep it on 4 wheels and head into the woods. And this is what's exciting to watch these UTVs right now. It's still relatively new. Only the 4th season we've been racing them. Okay, they actually made it by that tree, which is more than I can say for some of the others. But everyone is still kind of learning the formula, the combination, how to set up the suspension. If you want to push your ride, you want a little more ground clearance, you're obviously going to suffer in the corners, and vice versa. And today with this mud out here, I believe it's going to be a race just to see who can finish as much as anything. The first time we ever raced these was at a race in Indiana at the end of the year a few years back, and very muddy conditions, and everyone plugged their radiators and overheated. It's the kind of things it takes a couple races to learn. How about this? Barron Eastgate Racing now all over Yoakley for the #1 spot. We've had a long break between our previous race in Ohio as we watch Scott Kiger, the Coastal Drilling Machine, coming through in third. Long layoff between the last race and this one. So I would imagine there's a lot of tricks up the sleeve of some of these different drivers and teams. And we could see perhaps a change in the results. And whatever Barron Eastgate Racing has done over the last couple of weeks has obviously paid off. They are here, and they want to make moves on Yoakley and take the lead. And we're in one of the more wide open portions of the course. And this is where you can make it happen. And they are giving Yoakley all he can handle through there. That's a crew out of West Virginia, backed by a construction company called March Weston. Bill Patterson is the man at the wheel. Scott Kiger in third, going to try to run them down. So right now, March Weston racing in a Yoakley Racing Coastal Drilling sandwich. John Yoakley trying to make up for that crash in the first turn here. Stay with us.
The Can-Am Renegade 1000 XXC with the most powerful engine in the industry. The Outlander 1000 XT with a redesigned chassis for unequal trail riding. The Commander 1000 Limited, the most equipped, luxurious side-by-side in the industry. The facts say it's the most advanced lineup out there. But the ride says it all.
Racer TV is brought to you by Can-Am, by Amsoil, and by Rocky Mountain ATV-MC. Welcome back to NBC Sports coverage of a fantastic UTV side-by-side battle from Ohio. William Yoakley and Bill Patterson duking it out for the lead. Here is third place Scott Kiger trying to run them down. And in fourth, that's John Yoakley, who was upside down in the first turn. I cannot believe how close he actually is to this front-running group. And then you have Darrell Raff. No, that is the #2 coming from row 2. That's the Hendershot boys. So they have made a great time. And I'll tell you, when you start putting, oh, wow, there's all that mud. And it's Barron Eastgate Racing in the lead. I was going to say, these guys have got to go. When you start putting the time adjustment in, they're probably not even in the overall lead at this point. But Barron Eastgate Racing gets into the lead, and they are trying to check out with it. And now we have a report that William Yoakley, who was our leader, has lost four-wheel drive. And this is not the course you want to have that problem in. It's very slick. Normally out here on this Ohio clay, you throw a little water down, and you're in some trouble. Now some of these drivers catching up to machines from the limited division, which do not have the same level of horsepower or suspension sophistication, so they're going to have to deal with lap traffic as well. The 75 here, Team Kreselich Jacks Racing moving up in the order as well. So it's getting shaken up here. And we'll shake it up ourselves. Here's coverage of our XC1 Pro dirt bike race, also from this weekend here in Ohio. This is the idea of the scope of the GNCC series. Paul Whibley on the Ampro Factory Yamaha gets out to the early lead, but he's going to have two riders to deal with today. The very determined KTM group, Caleb Russell and Charlie Mullins. No surprise, those three were out front early. Mullins, last year's champ, and Russell and Whibley, the guys battling for this year's title. The course designers put in this rock garden to slow the pace, but watch what Russell does. He just goes all the way around the outside of it and gets around his teammate Mullins. Russell needed this win for the points today. He was on it from the get-go. Look at that, jumping over the mud pit, feet off the pegs. He didn't care. Then Whibley would go down hard, and that would really shake him up for the rest of the day. He just tried to salvage some points, leaving the battle for the win down to Mullins versus Russell. As for Whibley, the New Zealand native, just as tough as they come. He was able to salvage something, but not get into the battle for the lead. It was going to come down to these two, Russell versus Mullins. And man, did they go at it through the rocks, the hills, the tree roots, the mud. Both originally from Ohio, so they had plenty of people cheering them on through the woods and over the rock garden. But Russell just so aggressive today. Look at this. This time he almost throws it away. Mullins gets right behind him. It's a straight-up duel right to the checkered flag. Russell hangs on for the win in spectacular fashion. That's just a sample of the type of racing we have out here on GNCC Race Weekend. And you can go to GNCCRacing.com to get the full schedule for 2013. Come on out, watch, or participate yourself. That's why we have the XC2 limited class in this UTV division. A good opportunity to get your feet wet, literally and figuratively, especially on a day like today in GNCC Racing. As for our XC1 Pro division, that is not the place for the timid. I mentioned all the shakeups. Team Excavating 3, which is a sister operation to that Coastal Drilling National Guard Polaris group. They won our last race. They are actually in the lead now on adjusted time. Mouse Pratt at the wheel of that vehicle. Eastgate Racing and Coastal Drilling are up front physically on the track. There is Yoakley, who is in two-wheel drive, as we mentioned. That has slowed his pace. Yoakley started the year off dominating, but has had some bad luck as of late. Here, I believe that's Mouse Pratt at the wheel of that Team Excavating machine, which on adjusted time is leading this race. And there's Kraselich Jax Racing in a Can-Am Commander making a run at the top 5. So if you're Baron Eastgate Racing here physically in the lead on the track, all you can do is keep the hammer down and just try to get as far away from everyone else as possible. There's nothing they can do about the pace of some of the drivers from the back rows catching them. They've got to try to pull it back out. Not going to be easy on a rough racetrack like this. It definitely will be fun to watch. So keep it tuned here to Racer TV. We'll find out who takes the win here at Powerline Park.
When it's time to get ready to ride and you need gear, it's time to go to RockyMountainATV.com. With the largest selection of ATV parts, apparel, and accessories, we have what you need at deep discounts. We have a huge state-of-the-art facility that ensures your order ships out quickly with accuracy that's second to none. Most items ship free and arrive at your door in 3 days or less. Visit our industry-leading website, RockyMountainATV.com today for the best prices, quickest shipping, online support, and largest in-stock selection around. RockyMountainATV.com. Get ready.
Racer TV is brought to you by Can-Am, by Amsoil, and by Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Getting a look at the rough and tumble world of Grand National Cross Country Racing in the UTV series. UTV, by the way, stands for Ultimate Terrain Vehicle. Every manufacturer, I believe, has a different name for this segment of vehicles. Some call them side-by-sides because of the twin-seat configuration. Some call them recreational vehicles. They are full-on race machines once they get to the GNCC racetracks, and you can see they're not afraid to bump and bang on each other and try to make moves. The machine at the back of that group right there is actually your overall leader today, making up time after not starting on the first row. Mouse Pratt at the wheel. This vehicle is physically leading on the course, but the back row machines, with the benefit of the time adjustment, are leading overall. Now, I would venture to guess, by the way, that no one driving actually realizes where they stand as far as the stopwatch. So there's not much strategy here except keep the throttle down as hard as you can and try to keep it out of the trees so you don't mess up your front bumper like that. Although these are the boys that are leading the way, so I guess you'll take it any way you can get it. Now, these racetracks are abbreviated versions of what the bikes and the ATVs run. The 62-inch maximum width rule means that we have to keep them out of the more single-track type trails that the dirt bikes would run. But there's no doubt they're getting the full spectrum of GNCC type terrain. And if you watch the last couple of shows here with us, as we see the 2 lap car out, we've had races in the heat, we've had races in the dust, we've had races in the rocks, and it's really a test for reliability. Here is Yoakley, who won the first 2 races of the year, didn't finish the last one when he overheated. Today struggling with his 4-wheel drive system, and that is opening the door in the point standings. Team Excavating, with Mouse Pratt at the wheel. Your overall leaders today working on 2 wins in a row. We're going to go check in on our Pro ATV race that took place a little bit earlier today. We'll show you what GNCC Racing is all about. Watch the collision off the start, a near crash. And these guys recover to battle for the lead. Although the whole shot ultimately goes to Ohio's own Walker Fowler, but then he gives it up to the Honda man, Brian Wolf. He's got plenty of speed, and these two hook up and get away from the rest of the pack. And I think this jump looks like fun. Watch Walker Fowler. Even he's pumped about getting over that one. Pumps his fist for the crowd. Of course, it's serious business when you have Chris Borich in the field. He's your defending champ, not known for his good starts, but always rumbles toward the front of the pack. But today, a chink in the armor. The exhaust header comes off of his machine. It catches parts of the engine on fire, and eventually Borich is stopped dead in his tracks. And that opens the door for finally someone else to get a win. And trying to take advantage is Adam McGill, who had a terrible start of this one. He catches Fowler, and man, did they go at it for the race win. Also had Chris Bithell on the Motorworks Can-Am right there too. These three really pushing the pace down to the end. This is Fowler and McGill headed down the stretch toward the finish line. Fans cheering them everywhere. Fowler trying to find a way around. Can't make it happen. First win of the year for Adam McGill. What a duel. And that's how close it was after 2 hours in Ohio. Now, I don't want to talk over this. You can hear the screaming from the cockpit of our leaders, Barron Eastgate Racing, and that's because they're getting slowed by lap traffic. Here comes Scott Kiger in second, closing the gap. You don't have horns in a GNCC UTV machine, so you just yell. You use the old vocal cords as a horn, and those guys know they've got to go because this machine, bent front bumper and all, Team Excavating 3, is in the overall lead on adjusted time. Barron Eastgate, physically first on the track, has to try to pull back away from them. Team Excavating did not start on the front row. I know it's a broken record to say this over and over, but it gives you an idea of just how dynamic these races are. You don't have to start up front to win the race when you're racing for an hour in these conditions. Anything can and will happen. Stretch run coming up. We're about to reach the last lap here in Ohio. Who's going to take the win? Stay with us.
Any engine. Any season. At home. At the track. Or on the trail. AMSOIL, the first in synthetics.
Racer TV is brought to you by Can-Am, by AMSOIL, and by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Well, it certainly has been fun watching the UTV machines put their paces in a little bit of mud today, and it has wreaked some havoc as far as the overall standings go. A bunch of machines that did not start on row 1 are now leading the race overall, and lap traffic has made it even worse for our leaders. Team Excavating 3 leads the way over Team Barron Eastgate Racing by about 34 seconds. And as these machines race through the pits, check out the rigs off to the side. This is a spectator sport, of course, when you're watching on TV, but it's very much a participant sport. And if you have an ATV, a UTV, or a dirt bike, come on out and race. It's the best way to enjoy Grand National cross-country action. We'll get back to the final lap of our UTV race in a moment, but we're also going to show you the highlights of our morning ATV race. We run the XC1 Pros in the afternoon. We showed you the highlights of that earlier. The morning race, that's where the beginner divisions run, and also the utility machines as well. And this is the first race of the race weekend, so you don't really find out how deep those mud holes are until this group finds the bottom. In the open 4x4 class, no surprise, Zach Sikowski always grabbing pole shots on his Can-Am. He does it again today. And competition, of course, would come from Michael Swift and Brian Buchanan. These three, along with Sikowski here, they have put on some spectacular battles the last couple of years in open 4x4. And today was no exception. They dealt with the mud, they dealt with the hills, and all the other obstacles out here, and it was a straight-up race. Boy, it's nice to have four-wheel drive through sections like that. Sikowski led early. Swift was in the lead at one point. Here is Buchanan, who would then get the lead. Swift could go back to third. Here he is. Then he'd rally back to second and even get back into the lead at one point. But this man, Brian Buchanan, your defending class champion, would ultimately emerge with the win. It's so tight in this class that last year he and Swift tied for the series championship, and Buchanan won the tiebreaker. Pretty darn close out here today in the UTV division. That's Team Excavating, Mouse Pratt at the wheel, looking for 2 victories in a row. And they have pulled away now from Team Barron Eastgate Racing, who won the previous round of this championship, and that's a new team out of Morgantown, West Virginia. So even if they take second today, they've got to be happy with the progress they've made this year. And Scott Kiger, who's running third via consistency, may find himself the series points leader by the end of the day, because this driver, William Yoakley, lost the front wheel drive on his 4-wheel drive machine, and with 2-wheel drive, he's losing positions and losing points. He had mechanical problems at our last race. So consistency rules the day. It's not about just being fast or starting on the front row or grabbing hole shots. You've got to keep the machine together, and that's what Team Excavating 3 has done best. They've come from behind the last couple of races, and it looks like they might have what it takes to get the win. Barron Eastgate Racing, a privateer effort out of West Virginia, is going to take the checkered flag first. But I don't think they're going to have enough on adjusted time to win it. Still, congratulations to Bill Patterson and Andrew Zenny, the driver and co-driver there. Here comes Kiger. Now, there was a bottleneck on this last lap. Lap driver held all these front row machines up. That made it next to impossible for them to get the time they needed back. Kiger is going to finish second physically, but I don't think that's enough again to win the overall. Here is Yoakley coming across, limping around in 2-wheel drive all day long, just trying to get a top 5, although he'll probably miss that mark as well. The driver to beat, Mouse Pratt at the wheel of Team Excavating 3. There's John Yoakley. Remember, he was upside down in turn 1. Here it is. For the second race in a row, Team Excavating wins the overall on adjusted time. Congrats to them. Here are the Amsoil results. Barron Eastgate second. Krasalich Jax Excavating moves up to third in what was a wild race as far as track position. The limited class Team Jax takes the win over Team Moorhead Racing. A good job by those folks, showing that it can be done. It's just as much fun, just with spending a little less money, which probably makes it even more fun. Give you a little race recap here. We knew the mud would be a factor, but a few other things. We had machines upside down to the first turn, drivers tagging trees early on, bent front bumper on that Team Excavating machine, but that didn't slow them down. They were making moves early and getting toward the front on adjusted time. They did not need to catch the vehicles in front of them. They just needed to finish within a certain amount of time, and that's exactly what they did. Mouse Pratt at the wheel. They win 2 in a row. For everyone here at Racer TV, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching.